welcome to the first Rose Pill of 2020. I know it's been quite a long time, but I've got two great guests, and so yeah, let's do this. So joining me once again
got your notification.
Oh, did you? Oh, brilliant. So joining me once again is the absolutely amazing Blaire White. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
And making her Rose Pill debut is the absolute. I don't even know. I was about to go on a rant about like how you're just the most problematic TERF of the moment.
I mean, maybe we should just redefine what TERF is at this point, because no one even uses it in the right way.
It doesn't mean what they say it means. But
it doesn't.
So this is Arielle Scarcella. So if you want to introduce yourself to the people on my channel who might not know who you are.
Yeah, I'm a lesbian. Unfortunately, in the left's mind, a very basic ass lesbian in this case. I guess I have pretty like basic views, and I am like, I feel like an outsider in my own community at this point. And I started watching more right-leaning people within my community, and I've learned that I'm agreeing more with more and more what they say. So I'm I guess people would consider me liberal, but I don't know if I'm even on that. I'm straddling the line at the moment because I'm disgusted at the way my community has been treating other people, and especially how they've been treating me.
This is kind of the way this starts. You get on that slippery slope. It definitely happened to me.
Yeah.
It's happened to a lot of my friends as well, like a lot of my LGBT friends. So when you say that you're starting to lean a little bit to the right, do you mean like economic policy? Do you mean societal? Like give a bit of background.
Societal. Like I would say, like I had an hour and a half, 2-hour conversation with a few people over the last 2 days. I don't want to name names, but you'll see, me hanging out with them soon. I mean, I would say mainly just with LGBT issues, I've become more right leaning. I got so much shit from, friends of mine even saying that I don't think if people pass as men, I don't think that they belong in the women's restroom. Like to me, that's not a conservative idea. Like I still think that they can like identify as women, but I don't think they belong in spaces where people would be like, it would be off-putting to a lot of women. Like you can't know somebody's identity and somebody's gender by looking at them, which we know is true. Unless they like if somebody walked into a bathroom and passed as a man and then was like, I'm just letting everybody know, like I'm a trans woman, but I'm early in my transition. Even if they said that, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like I'd feel more comfortable. But like you see a dude, you're like you think it's a dude, you fucking get scared,
Yeah. Like it's a kind of weird way. I remember when I first started transitioning and I didn't look anything like I did now. And I remember feeling incredibly awkward even stepping foot in anywhere like a women's restroom. I certainly didn't use a women's changing room until after I'd had the surgery. But now we're getting people just wandering in who haven't done a single little bit of work, and they are expecting everyone else around them to not say a word. And if you start questioning it, then you are the problem and not them.
Yeah, you're transphobic, yeah.
So is that one of the things that you've really got into trouble for then? Like just saying that?
I just posted a video about this the other day, and I posted some tweets, I think, about it or something, or I can't remember at this point. There's so much backlash from all different sides, but yeah, it's at the point where I'm not left enough for the left and I'm not right enough for the right, but the right doesn't hate on me at all. No. They'll like question things like, oh, like, do you feel this way? But I've never gotten any hate, like direct hate, like in the way that the people on the left hate me, ever, no matter how right they are.
I've actually just finished recording a video that kind of touches on that subject, the way that the left will treat you. The second you start speaking out against them, they have specific phrases, specific slurs, which they use against minorities. So that, for example, be like TERF, like true scum, for like black people, they have a whole wide array. But then they will go back on the old socialist mantra of, well, we can never be prejudiced. It's physically impossible to be left-wing and prejudiced. But the second you voice a view that they disagree with, they will absolutely assassinate you based on these characteristics that they tell you that they've protected.
Yep. Oh, they attack me. They attack every at this point. I could even say trans women or women, and I would be. What they would say is, now you're just saying this to appease us, da, da, da. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing I could say. And I've said that in the past, but like, there's nothing I could say.
Yeah.
Trans people deserve love. What about people that don't have families? Like, you know, like, fuck.
I think Ricky Gervais said something like that a couple of weeks ago. Like he was being called TERF and transphobe and all this kind of stuff. And he said something like, well, no, I think that trans women are women. And he then ended up getting attacked by both sides because he got attacked by the Radfems for saying trans women are women. And he got attacked by the trans activists because they were like, oh, you know, like lick the boot.
Right.
Which is what they, you know, it's always what they fucking say to people like us.
Yeah, like that you're sucking up to white cis men or something, right?
Yeah.
It's just so stupid too.
So,
oh my God.
What actually got you into starting to comment on like trans stuff in the way that you have been recently?
I've been talking about trans issues since 2013. And there have been, a lot of people don't know this. I don't even know if Blaire knows this. There have been several YouTubers that have basically, honestly, made their career, like at least jump-started their career based off of hating on my content. And, you know, obviously, like, I've grown over the years. My content isn't
Cat Black,
yeah. Chase Ross, Riley Dennis. We could just name names. I don't care. But yeah, these people, in my opinion, they're horrible people. Like, I literally remember emailing, like, I can show you the email. I emailed Kat years ago, about maybe 2014, after she posted a video about me. And I was like, listen, like, why don't we just, you know, have a video where you're on the video and you can write the video. And you know how she responded back? She wrote something like, so you're asking me to work for free. Oh, you're asking me to do all your work and, you know, reap the benefit. Like, you told me you disagreed with me. I'm giving you a chance to write the fucking video. Like, and somehow you managed to make this about seeing like I'm trying to take advantage of you still.
Well, Kat, in my opinion, Kat's existence and role as a trans activist, as stated by her Wikipedia page and by her, is completely irrelevant. It was irrelevant for a while, but it was put in the coffin, in my opinion, when I think it was like a few months ago, she literally encouraged a trans kid to kill himself on Twitter. Like that was a thing that actually happened. And
I remember that.
This is a person that will simultaneously, you know, claim that people like myself and like Rose and like other trans people who disagree with her are doing an immense harm to the trans community. But guess what I've never done? I've never encouraged a trans teenager to kill themselves after they said they're suicidal. That's disgusting. Kat's literally a moron. Just a moron.
I know.
And what made all of that worse was that she then somehow made it all about her. And she made herself the victim after telling someone effectively to go kill themselves. But feel sorry for poor Kat.
These people only have one playbook, and it has about 3 pages. And a huge chunk of that is just play the victim over and over again, no matter what you say or do. There was a trans activist who posted on Twitter a couple of days ago was saying how disgusting it is that people would have an issue with you know, children going on hormones and puberty blockers and transitioning, etc. And the moment I replied, just disagreeing with her, it became me sending my mob after her, and now she's fearful, and I knew what was going to happen, and all I did was reply to her. So these people love to throw the shit over the wall, but if a pebble gets thrown back, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, they always jump on that thing as well when you respond to, like, they always get into dogpiling. Like, you see it in action whenever you post anything that really disagrees with them. They all pile in, like they're notifying each other in private messages. But if you respond to them, like, I've been accused of dogpiling just by mentioning some people in my videos. And like, I don't consider that as a dogpile thing, or I'm encouraging people, because I don't think I have a particularly huge audience. Like, I have a much bigger audience than I did this time last year. But all I'm doing, if you're putting something out there on social media, I'm going to mention it. And I don't see any need to kind of like remove who you are on it, because you've effectively put the evidence out there for yourself.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
If you can't handle engaging on the internet, then log off. Like, don't post your opinions in public if you don't want to. And just because someone has more followers or a blue check mark or whatever doesn't mean that they can't defend themselves or they can't like debate with you. That's the other thing is, like, I feel like people can like hurl shit like our way sometimes and just say the most vile, nasty things, can accuse us of this, that, and the other. And the moment we reply back, whether it's us being harsh or not harsh, doesn't matter. The intensity of which we reply back, like we are the aggressor and we're the one in the wrong and we're supposed to rise above it. When it actually is very mentally taxing, like the stuff you go through when you do post your opinion online. You know what I mean? But if you're not willing to go through it, then just log off.
But they play by a completely different rule book, and they expect everyone else to follow like a completely different set.
Yeah.
Like they tell you that, you know, you can't slip down to that level. But when they do it, well, it's punching up. It's fine for them to take your identity and use that as a weapon. But if the right did it, it would be considered, you know, bigotry of the highest order. They do this all the fucking time.
You want to hear something crazy that I read the other day? Sorry, I won't swing anymore. I read something the other day. Somebody said it's making them seasick. Somebody said the other day that there was an article that was written that said something like more and more women are identifying, more and more female people are identifying as non-binary. And they think like these are the people that aren't transitioning, you know, not even socially really. And they think it's the person that wrote the article thinks it's because they feel like they will be able to be heard more because they have more woke points or more like oppression points, whatever the word is. What do you think about that? Because I feel like that's a really, really good point.
I think that's true.
It's absolutely true. All you have to do, I mean, this is sort of the same thing in my opinion. All you have to do is look at the huge rise of detransitioners on YouTube telling their stories. Almost all of them are female. Biologically female. They're female. They're women.
And somehow I have no right to talk about this. And I'm biologically female. And most of these people are lesbians.
Right. And the first thing is everyone has a right to talk about anything. If we're gonna make trans this huge public discourse and this huge debate, and we're gonna be, you know, attempting to quote educate people on it or fight for what we think trans is or isn't, everyone gets a say. If we want to return to the days where trans was more of an obscure topic, which in some ways was better if we're being honest, then we can do that. But so long as we're going to have it, this huge, you know, public debate, everyone gets a say. That's lesbians, that's straight people, that's white people, that's people of any race.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like if that were the case, then, you know, why would, you know, bisexual, let's say a trans woman identifies as bisexual. Why do they feel the need to tell lesbians, you know, how to be sexually attracted to women? You know, it's kind of, you know, goes back and forth.
But it becomes like an Olympics where people are trying to get as many identities as they can. The more oppressed that they are the ones who effectively have the talking stick. They control the whole conversation. And if you speak out against them, well, you know your place, bigot.
Yeah,
and I think
know your place. Yeah, that's my friends have told me that. Like friends of mine, it's not your place. You're not trans. Yeah, but it is my place because I'm a female, and certain things that trans activists, not people like you. But like the crazy trans activists, the SJWs, I don't even know what we're calling them these days. I feel old. You know, certain things are affecting me. Telling me that as a woman that I can no longer affect women's, you know, that I can no longer talk about the effects that trans issues have on women is insane.
But damn it! I had a point that I was about to say. I can't quite remember what it was.
It'll come back. It'll
come back. Almost had it. No, I don't. Sorry.
Well, can I make a point? I would like to say, like, I had a very interesting weekend. And it was a weekend that really, really taught me a lot. I'm just going to say it. There is a very large amount of very mentally ill people who have become drawn to the LGBT community, not because they are genuinely a part of it, not because they are genuinely trans, but because they see it as a scapegoat for bad behavior. They see it as a safety net for their own shortcomings. And it's absolutely ruining the public image of LGBT people. And I'm going to talk specifically about trans.
1,000,000%. And I can I just add a little tip?
Of course.
I was in Vegas a week ago at the AVN Awards, like the American, I keep saying the Adult Film Industry Awards things, because a few of my friends are sex workers, whatever. Yeah. So I went there and I met up with this girl, Tara Babcock, not a porn star. Her name sounds like a porn star. She looks like a porn star, but she's not. But Tara Babcock. She's a fellow creator or whatever. And when she didn't know who I was, I didn't know who she was, and we looked each other up. Oh, well, maybe we'll make a video together if we have similar opinions or similar concepts. And we met up for dinner with my friend Paige, and Tara was like, she's like, I'm not gonna lie, I looked up your channel and saw that it said women empowerment LGBT, and I thought you were a crazy person. Have we got to that point? Like, all I have to say is that I'm LGBT or that I'm for women.
And
empowering women. That
there is an express difference between LGBT people and the people that have forced their way into it. This weekend, okay, so on Friday, I went out. I flew to San Francisco for an LGBT town hall with the Walkaway movement, which is headed by Brandon Strock. And it was going to be, we've done a bunch of these. We go to different cities. This was our first one in San Fran. And we just talk about our stories, our beliefs, and then we open it up to the crowd and they ask us questions. They're always very successful. This one was a shit show. But I'm going to go to the night before.
Well, you're in San Francisco. Did you expect anything different?
Yeah, right. But I went out Friday night the night before, and I went to a place called Asia SF. Asia SF is a very famous, very old bar. It's like a transgender bar, and they have like trans women performers, and they're like super beautiful, like the most beautiful trans women I've ever seen, like real trans women, like literally like have transitioned, like live as women. No one ever know, like real trans women.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was so shocked because I'm so used to going into LGBT spaces feeling like I have to watch my back because there's just so much hate for people like myself and like you guys.
Right.
And what happened was all the trans women working ran up to me. They all wanted pictures. They all wanted to say hi. They all thanked me for what I was doing for the, quote, real trans community. They gave me a table. They gave me a standing ovation on the bar. And I was like, what is going on? And I realized because this is real trans people. So flash forward to the next night, our event gets shut down by protesters who are, quote, trans.
Queer. No, they're all queer. They're all queer.
It's all the people who no transition has taken place or will ever take place.
Right.
They're visibly off, mentally off. They're screaming at the top of their lungs. They're shouting about how I'm transphobic. And I'm like, how is there such a stark difference between this one place I'm going where all these transgender people are thanking me and this next one where all these cis people who are parading as trans people are threatening to beat my ass? It's because they're not actually trans. These are crazy people who see that there is a public sympathy and empathy for people like ourselves, and they want that for themselves.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time within London's queer community, and one of the things that always fascinated me was there would always, when I first moved to London around 2012, I met a couple of friends, and I kind of got into the community as a bit of a distance, I would say. I would only really go to parties, and that's because, to be fair, the parties were quite fun. But there was very, very few trans people. I was like probably the only trans woman there. And then as the years went on, all of a sudden, more and more people just realized they might be trans. And none of these people ever did anything. Every single one, almost without exception, would not be on hormones. They wouldn't, or they would change their pronouns. That would be it. If they were an NB woman, female NB,
they go by they.
Yeah, a they, a z, a flim, any kind of pronoun that you want. Yeah, there was someone who went by flim. I was at a party once when
isn't that like throw up? Isn't phlegm like puke?
Well, this was like this was a particular party that I went to, and they had all these little circles where people had to, introduce yourself and give your pronouns. And I was just like, when I was asked what my pronouns were, I did what I always do, which is I grab my tits and I say, "What do you think?"
I love that.
But like there was one person in another circle, and someone actually stood up and was like, "Oh my god, someone here has got some new pronouns," and everyone was like, "Oh my god, what are they?" And they just kind of stood up and like, "Oh, my pronouns are flim," and then everyone was just like,
"Oh god!"
I gave them a round of applause, but they didn't do anything else. They had their tits out, for God's sake. Like there was no way that you're going to look at that body and think, "Oh, gee, what sex is that?"
Right.
See,
who the hell is this?
That kind of stuff is not even remotely relatable to me as a transgender person, but yet I'm forced to accept that that is what I am.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have all these other distinctions, like, if don't you dare tell a pansexual that what they are is similar to bisexual, don't you dare say that. But I'm supposed to accept that non-binary people and queer people who have literally almost no lived shared experiences are the same thing as me.
No.
Why is it so important to them that they be called trans? Because, like I said, that public empathy and sympathy is there for trans people, and they want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think that there is a little bit more to it as well. And I go back to what I mentioned about the talking stick, because collecting identities in the queer community is something which is really important. As I mentioned, Z, who is most oppressed, gets to control the conversation.
Yep.
Right.
And self-identifying as trans is the easiest way that you can get any kind of clout, because, like, you know, a trans woman is more oppressed than a cis woman, but a non-binary person, they're even more oppressed than a trans woman. And the barrier of entry is non-existent. You, as I've tried to find out as much as I can, but the barrier of entry to being non-binary is to say that you are non-binary. That's the argument they always come out with. So because that is the most oppressed, anyone can take that on. And I've met people within the queer community who some of them are, like, you know, have had really good backgrounds, like the middle to upper class upbringing. Some of them have been to likes of Oxford, Cambridge. A great example of someone that I actually did come across. Have any of you ever heard of someone called Laurie Penny?
No.
Sounds familiar.
So she is a British journalist. She wrote an article a couple of years ago. There's an actor who stopped her from, like, crossing the road, and then she wrote about how he was misogynistic.
Oh, I do remember.
Basically, yeah. So I knew her in this, like, queer community, and one day she came out as non-binary because, you know, she already had so many other oppression points, you know, being a woman, but that wasn't enough because she was also really wealthy. She was a journalist and she went to a very prestigious school and university, and all of this was paid on mama and papa's money. She never had to want for anything. So how do you get yourself a name in modern age when the only victimhood you can lay back on is that you were a woman? Well, you just say that you're non-binary. And that's
what I should do. And then people will listen to me.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Like, honestly, it's if you want to be taken seriously by these people, if you want to control what they say, you can play them at their own game. You can just self-ID as non-binary, and they can't stop you because they put those rules in.
Right.
But here's the irony. The rules only apply when they want them to. I remember when Trisha Paytas came out as trans, guess who was saying how it was a joke and how it was wrong for her to do that? Cat freaking Black, who at the same time talks about you can't gatekeep and trans is what we say it is. Okay, so why are you it's only when they want the rules to apply.
Which is why I respected Gigi, even though I agreed with your video, Blaire, when you said that Gigi, she was playing by the same rules that we are. She's like, okay, you're trans if you say you are. And she made the video saying, okay, I believe Trisha, I believe him, or whatever.
I'd be pissed if I was Gigi, though. I really would. Like, getting played by your friend like that.
I know. It's all this, just a stupid situation, but at least she stood by what she believed.
Yeah.
And
at least. Meanwhile, everyone else flipped. Meanwhile, it was just making us look like a joke. First of all, I do agree that Trisha was a joke and her coming out was a joke, and it was obviously just for attention, which is sickening. But there's so many other people doing it. And for some reason, when we call those people out, it's wrong. But they can call Trisha out. It's like, you can't pick and choose. Yeah. There has to be a certain level of gatekeeping. There just has to be. Otherwise, Jessica Yaniv is just as valid as Blaire White. And I'm sorry, but that's disgusting.
I agree with you.
And it loses meaning if there isn't any kind of gate on there. The term has no point to it. And yet they want to, and that would be fine if they didn't want to push rights behind it. If they didn't want to make people by law refer to them in a particular way, that they get things given to them by the state, because that's what a lot of them want. I mean, I don't know many non-binary people who actually work. A lot of them are layabouts or are off on like long-term sickness, claiming, I'm depressed.
Like, they don't work. We went. I'm about to go off. So the day of our show.
Go off.
the day of our show, we had a separate event that was a cleanup of San Francisco. Because if you know anything about San Francisco, you know the streets are so insanely dirty. There's just syringes, literal fecal matter. I'm not exaggerating when you say even in nice areas, when you walk, all of a sudden there will just be a waft of shit in your nose. Like you just smell. It's awful. The streets are a mess. So our group decided, you know what? While we're there, we're going to clean up and we're going to do a huge cleanup of the city. They picked up a lot of trash. And guess we were protested for cleaning up. Antifa came and were screaming at us and how we were racist and we were anti-homeless and trying to kill homeless families by picking up trash. I cannot make this up.
My God.
How do they jump from? I don't even understand that. I completely don't understand.
Yeah,
how they jump to that degree.
Because they're Antifa.
It
doesn't matter what charity work you could be doing. The fact that you are the one that's doing it. I mean, they're not going to be collecting trash. I mean, you hear about these Republican groups that are the ones collecting trash in all of these Democrat cities, but it's not the Democrat groups that are doing it. But they could have just said thank you. They could have just said thank you for cleaning up our city, but instead they came and and it's crazy because they were yelling "Go home, faggot." These
so they were misgendering you.
They were yelling.
They were talking to JC.
They're talking to just the group in general. Go home, faggots. Go home, faggot. Okay. Like it was crazy, but they were yelling racial things towards my best friend JC, who's Cuban. They're saying "Speak English," blah blah blah, because he has a very heavy accent. He's from Cuba,
right?
And they were telling him stay in a child's place because he's short. He has not dwarfism, but he's very short. And it's just like these are the people who are supposedly not homophobic and not racist and don't judge people based on their physical appearance, but they do.
They do.
Yeah,
it's perfectly fine when they are the ones who are doing it. They are the ones that will say to you, it's so important to fight against racism, fight against sexism, fight against homophobia, biphobia, all of this, until the second that you speak out against them, in which case your identity is fair game to them. Again, this is literally what my video is about tomorrow. But I got to look through some of the various Black conservatives, and you'll see white people calling them things like coconuts. That's a racial insult right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, white liberals are the worst. White liberals, white liberals will tell me what's transphobic. White liberals will tell Black people what's racist. It doesn't matter what you think as a trans person. A straight white cis liberal will be the one to let you know. It's so sick.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what you were saying before, how the people that are claiming to be LGBT, and speaking for us, aren't. Most of the people, everybody thinks that trans people hate me. I don't know any actual trans people that hate me like that. I mean, I disagree with maybe Cat Black, but most actual transsexual people agree with most of what I have to say.
Yeah, I've never had a problem.
It's the young kids that are identifying as all these other genders and non-binary and they're queer. Meanwhile, they still are females that date males. It's not queer. Yeah. You're not. You'll never know what it's like to come out. You'll never know what it's like to walk down the street with a girl that you're dating and be terrified.
They will never know what it's like to actually transition.
And they'll never know what exactly.
Look, when they come out and they say that they are trans, it's really interesting when you see that a lot of them aren't actually out to anyone outside of their own little bubble. They won't, they'll go back to their parents or whatever and then be, Sarah, but then they will be in their queer community and then they'll be Crystal or something like that. It happened. I've seen this happen so many times. And so they're not actually out, and it would be almost impossible for them to really be out anyway, because they don't look any different. They just use a magical new word to describe themselves.
Coming out for these people is refreshing your Twitter bio with new pronouns. Coming out for actual LGBT people means risking your family, your security, your mental health, and your physical health. It means for trans people embarking on a journey that can span years and years and years of medical intervention. For gays and lesbians, it means figuring out this new relationship dynamic and dating and navigating the dangers of family abandoning you. And these people don't go through any of that. And those are people screaming at us that we're oppressing them.
None of them. I wouldn't say that my transition has been the hardest of any trans person I know. Like, I certainly had some difficult times. I lost virtually all my friends back home. My relationship with my parents was very difficult. At one point, some things were said that I wouldn't mention live because I don't want to get my parents in trouble, but like some very harsh things were said to me. And
That's real.
like, that's the kind of thing which you go through, and it kind of helped build my character in a way, if that makes sense. But none of these people, you're right, none of them will ever go through it. And they're the ones that are trying to then dictate things like, well, you know, like not all transitions are going to be the same. Like, well, no, the end goal, though, should be the same. Like the end goal should be that you know, if you're
trying to relieving your gender dysphoria to the best of your ability. Is the end goal, right?
Yeah. But what's
to reassociate yourself into society.
But like what I think is even more important is I went through all of this years before it was the trendy thing to be trans, before it was the word of the year was transition or anything along those lines. Barely anything was known about it. You would look at LGBT media, trans people would barely even get a word in. I transitioned in that kind of world where I had to fend for myself virtually. And I think it's one of the reasons why I am who I am, and it helped build me character. But I still did it when there was a time where I could have had a personal risk of losing everything. And yet some of these people, and you see it even with some weird YouTubers, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to start any drama, but there's one particular YouTuber I can think of who has, you know, for years has been one person, and now, despite the fact that, you know, his best friend has the pronouns in the bio and they're all in a huggy queer kind of community, it's like only now is he brave enough to come out as being a trans woman when everyone around him is going to accept it anyway. And like, why did you not come out sooner than that? Like, why is it only when everything is cuddly that you're now able to break through? You're able to crack the egg, so to speak. Why weren't you doing this years ago if there was this much of a need? Like, one of my friends, the Talisa Garcia's often said this to me, that there's like, why aren't they transitioning at the same kind of age that she was? I mean, she's now late 40s, but she transitioned when she was about 16 to 18. And this would have been back in like the 70s, early 80s. Some of these people now, though, like they're waiting until like their mid 30s and they're still not touching anything. And even when they do transition, what are they actually doing? Like nothing.
Pronouns and like cutting their hair.
Yeah,
well,
pronoun.
Look at the guy from Queer Eye, the one who looks like
Jonathan.
He came out as non-binary, talked about it once and never talked about it again because it was an easy way to get himself in the headlines for a week, an easy way to get like universal praise and oh my god, you're so brave and blah blah blah. And now it's just not even talked about.
Yeah.
Look at Sam Smith. Like it's all these. It's a popular thing to do, and it shits on real trans people. And it's
I agree. If I'm still on the fence with non-binary, I think the only thing that would make sense in my head of what a non-binary person should be, like if you're going to identify that, with that would mean like partial dysphoria, maybe. Like maybe they don't like their chest if they're female, so they get rid of their chest, but they wouldn't want a penis. You know,
that could be more of like a body dysphoria. Or
it could, that's where
like
where I'm at. Like, so I'm trying to figure out the middle ground, I guess, or because most of the people that identify as non-binary claim to have dysphoria, again, like you said, and they do nothing about it. So I'm like, how are you under the trans umbrella if you're not experiencing anything that transsexual people experience?
Yeah,
you know, and that's how the trans.
I won't even take any kind of middle ground. My opinion on non-binary is it's fucking bullshit. It did not exist before 2014.
Right.
Okay. It didn't. No one talked about it. Go on Google Trends. No one knows Googling it, talking about it, using the word. Non-binary was not a thing for 2014. Meanwhile, transgenderism, transsexualism more specifically, has been around in every culture since the beginning of ever. And in isolated cultures that didn't speak to each other because they're on the other side of the world before transportation, like it's always been a thing. And our understanding of it has changed and grown. But non-binary is a very new thing.
Have you ever noticed when you get non-binary people and they do talk about dysphoria, they talk about it as though it's like I know that you can talk about dysphoria as like a medical condition, which it certainly is, but they seem to just take that and then think like, oh, you're gonna have days where you can't get out of bed because you have dysphoria. Like I've seen people on my Facebook feed being like, oh, my dysphoria is just too bad today. I can't get up. I can't leave my bed. And I'm like, that's not what dysphoria is. It's not like
depression.
You have a fucking migraine.
Right.
Like,
It sounds like depression, right?
It sounds like depression. Like
it sounds like other mental illnesses, which most of these people probably have. And I can say that as somebody with a mental illness.
So can I.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the right to talk about this.
I have the right to talk about it.
It's no surprise that this is almost exclusively, not completely, but almost exclusively a teenage thing.
Yep.
Let's just be real about that. Almost everyone who identifies as non-binary is a teenager. I tried doing a debate with a non-binary person on my channel a while ago, and they actually flaked while I was live. Like they didn't come in, and I was like, okay, then anyone who's non-binary, come in. I gave like 50 people the link, and every single person that came in was a teenage girl at the oldest. They were 19. It is what it is. And I find that when it's a biological male who identifies as non-binary, I often see that as sort of like them before they come to grips that they're just a trans woman or gay. Like they come into grips with the fact that they're feminine and male.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that.
With it. Whereas with biological females, and I've seen some detransitioners talk about this on YouTube. Again, almost all are female.
That's why I talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, they often say that it was almost a way of like, in their minds, they felt as if like they were heightening their status in society by being less of a woman and saying, I'm a trans man or I'm non-binary. I'm a man now.
1000%. There are studies. I did a video like last year at this point with my friend Blake, who's a trans guy, legitimately, in my opinion, legitimately trans. He's a sweetheart. And we talked about like there were statistics, I can't remember where they're from, but statistics that stated in the United States, the rate of acceptance of trans kids, like in classrooms or no, I think it was specifically trans kids, so female to male, male to female. The rate of acceptance was way higher than acceptance of lesbians. And I've even seen this. Like if I go to an LGBT event, almost nothing caters to lesbians. It's gay men and non-binary and trans now. Yeah. And it was usually always gay men, but now like they added trans, and it's like, okay, like even certain, you see certain commercials. Like that's why everyone was going crazy about that new coffee commercial. They were like, finally a lesbian couple in a coffee commercial, because it's always gay men or some trans kid coming out, which is good, but it's like we need to mix it up. But all most of these young, in my opinion, young women, most of them are gay or at least like pan or bi or something, whatever. That they have some kind of homosexual attraction, and they feel bad about it. And there was also the same study also showed that there was more protection from teachers and like security when it came to trans students versus gay students as well. So it makes sense when you think about it like that. Like why all these kids are coming out as somewhere under the trans umbrella, when they're probably just gay guys, or most of them are probably just lesbians, or even just like gender non-conforming people. Like they might just be like bi girls that like looking more masculine. Like you're not trans, like you're just gender non-conforming, which shouldn't even be a term in my opinion, because everyone's gender non-conforming. I'm gender non-conforming. I'm expected as a woman to date men. I don't conform to my gender.
Everyone is. When you expand the definition of transgender to include people who just don't like fit into, societal expectations of their gender, that's literally everyone. The most masculine men I know have at least a couple things that are not perfectly aligned with like traditional concept of masculinity, and vice versa for women. No one is the perfect caricature of a man or a woman. So it's like, what? And then, there's that, I think Arielle also did a video talking about this clinic. There's a clinic in the UK, one of the most popular gender clinics. Ago. They had something like 77 patients in 2010, which were trans kids. And now they have like thousands. And then thousands more on the waiting list. You can't tell me that that's an organic, natural phenomenon that has nothing to do with the popularization of being trans and the misdiagnosis and the expansion of what it means to be trans. Yes, I'm sure that there could be an expected increase as societal acceptance increases. You could maybe
That's true too. And the fact that more people are talking about it's more, it's, you know, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know, that's what I am.
Thousands of a percentage.
No, not to that, not to that degree. I agree.
Yeah, and it doesn't help. Like, we're going back on the expansion of it. If you've seen anything like the likes of mermaids in the UK pushes, or these diagrams known as like the transgender umbrella, it does include things like butch lesbians, effeminate gay men, drag queens.
I saw that.
And that so
I made a video about that like last year, and I said that I was coming out as trans because of gender nonconform, like because that's under the umbrella, and people hated me for it. This is your fucking definition of it, and I'm under it, and now I'm still.
But this thing, they openly push it. Like there's a particular diagram that Mermaids uses, which has like a line, and like at one end there's like an action man figure, and at the other end there's a Barbie. And so it's supposed to be like, you know, the action man is like the man and the Barbie is the woman, and everything in between that is its own little magical gender. And then you're showing that to kids. And then you're saying, you know, if you're not really into football and trucks and all that kind of boys stuff, then, you know, you're not a boy. And then all of a sudden you get all these kids saying that they are, you know, they're no longer trans. Like, no, that they are trans. Like,
I know.
What's so scary for me is that, and I almost fear for it. You know, my transition is pretty much over. I live my life completely normally, like being trans did not come up in my real life. But I almost fear for trans people coming up now, like legitimate trans people, and I fear for them because at the rate of which the community is just, I feel like they're just on this train that's just
spiraling out of control. It's already out of control.
Like there's a couple things society does not like. That is, you know, women and children being in danger or targeted or assaulted. And while it happens, obviously in a lot of different contexts, like for the most part, people are very offended when that type of thing happens, like putting kids and women at risk. So when the trans community wants to pose itself intentionally as someone who is going to infiltrate women's sports and ruin that as a thing, and wants to enable children to go on life-altering drugs, like you can't pose yourself as, whether it's intentional or not, as anti-child and anti-woman. You just can't do it and expect for your movement to go any farther. It's over almost, unless there's a huge change.
Right.
No, I absolutely agree. Just to take this quick break, just to read out some super chats because a couple of people have sent them in.
Yeah, and just letting everybody know, I'm reading all the comments. I'm just not the live comment. I'm reading all of them.
I'm reading them too.
Yeah.
Okay. So Khaleesi Katie says like good 40 minutes ago. Sorry, Kate. Hey, Rose. Hey, Arielle. Hey, Blaire. Super excited to see this. Love you all. Love you too.
We love you.
My Felicita with DKK20. I keep on forgetting what. I think that's Danish krone or something. Sorry. Keep up the good work, all of you. Thanks for that. Now that's what I call a talk show with £2 and a little animation thingy. Thanks. Louis Adamson, 199. Thank you all for helping me get out of my SJW phase. That's what we want to hear. It's so good when we do these kinds of videos and people actually get something out of it. Like that for me is one of the most important things. One of the things that I wanted to do when I first started this channel.
Yeah.
And so that means a lot. So thank you for that. Laisha with the £2. Shout out to all the rows of Discord peeps. I think I've noticed a couple of people from the Discord in the chat. I noticed that Jury gave a bit of criticism about this starting around the same time as Fake Accents Unite, but you know, this is now the A show. Now that's what I call a talk show with another £2. Duda Derek, 199. Hi y'all. Blaire, check your DMs. Jared.
Will do.
Xander Cake, $20. Hey Blaire, San Francisco is crazy. I had to move out. It's no place for a rational trans person.
It isn't, or any rational person of any identity. It really.
Like when I went to San Francisco back in like 2004, I remember like my very first night there. I noticed there were a lot of homeless people, and like I just come back from like a restaurant with my family, and there was this guy walking around outside the hotel, just like asking for money, looked like zoned out of his head, just asking for money and just saying like, "Oh, I promise it's not for crack." And I'm like, it clearly was. And I was like, that was just awkward because I was with my parents. That was weird.
I swear to you, it's 10 times worse than in 2004. Like, the city is such a mess right now.
Oh god, I one day I will go back, but I'm kind of like I keep on meaning to just go back to America. Like, I haven't been to America since like 2007. From the looks of things, I'm going next year, but that's just to Disney.
Oh, I'm here half the time, so you let me know and we'll hang out and we'll go to Disney together.
Is that California or Florida?
Oh, I'm in Florida.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely doing Florida next year. Maybe I want to twist my boyfriend's arm into going to California in the same trip because I'm doing Tokyo Disney again this year. So then I'll have all the parks. Rose Moore, $5. Been following all three of you for a while. You're a breath of fresh air. Thank you. Oh, thank you as well. Michelle Jacobson, 20 DKK. Yaniv deserves to get her period. I would say no, because that's what Yaniv wants. That's what Yaniv. That is Yaniv's life right now. Just wanting that period. Just deny it to that beast. Mars with the $10. Free thinkers are going to change the narrative this year. Trans or not, you all matter. Thanks,
He's
Mars.
a sweetheart. I love him.
Mars is awesome. Everyone should go and subscribe to Transbro, which is the show that Mars does with another guy called Smartass. Like, it's a really good show, and they're criminally they're criminally undersubbed. Everyone should check them out, subscribe to them, and then come back here. And finally, Right Wing Tranny with the NOK 50. Love all of your content. Thank you for speaking up about important topics, and thank you for you as well.
Somebody said Jessica Yaniv is a virus.
Yaniv. Yaniv. No, I wouldn't say Yaniv is a virus. Yaniv is just funny. Yaniv is a cancer. Yaniv is a cancer, which the trans community has allowed to develop. That's true. Yaniv is a symptom of everything which is wrong with the community. Like, they can't really distance themselves too much.
People hate when I bring this up, and I almost am annoyed at myself for constantly bringing it up. But like, why is it that like every little obscure story involving trans people, every like famous trans activist and celebrity will talk about it, but like almost no one will touch the Yaniv thing, despite it being so viral and so popular. Like, they won't touch it even remotely.
It's because it blows up their own narrative. It's. Like, Yaniv is everything which people have been warning about. Like, you could honestly see Yaniv as being like a right-wing troll almost. And just exposing everything. But
what's so sad is I feel like it would actually strengthen the public image of the community if we all stood against that. It really would, because then you wouldn't be giving people the opportunity to say that we're excusing it.
Right.
Yeah, but like, but for the longest time, nobody would touch it at all. Like, it was... Like, I get that it flew under a lot of people's radar, but when the reporting restrictions were lifted at the end of July, at that point, that was when it blew up, and I think nobody has any excuse then. Everyone knew what it was. And I think, Blaire, your video probably did more than anyone in getting the word out there. So they all knew at this point. They could have actually made a distinction and said, look, we're not talking about people like Yaniv, we're dealing with this. But instead, they pretended that it didn't happen. And I thought that Yaniv's whole saga would have ended when he lost the ball waxing cases. But now he's assaulting people. He's still putting through more cases. And it doesn't look like the Canadian courts are really doing much about him. So until something major happens, he's here to stay. Right. And they have to acknowledge him at some point because people are going to bring it up.
I have zero respect for any and every LGBT activist that says Blaire White is a problem for the community, Arielle Scarcella is a problem for the community, Rose of Dawn is a problem for the community, but won't talk about how Jessica Yaniv is a problem for the community. If you can lift your Twitter fingers to disavow people like us, but you can't people like Jessica Yaniv or the GameStop tranny or any of the other people, I have no respect for you. That's why like people like Pat Black and others, like, to me, people are like, will you please debate this person? I'm like, they're not even on my radar anymore because they don't have the integrity to stand up for anything. They just don't. So
they're not interested at all. Like they're only interested in calling out people who effectively have the wrong views on things, and that's it. They don't care about any of the weird like actions that come out of the community. Like the amount of people who say, for example, don't bother with their voice work. I know my voice isn't the most perfect thing in the world, but damn it, I've tried. I don't get misgendered in public, but you get people who sound like blokes. And they then
who have beards, like at least my friend goes, "Fucking shave at least."
Yeah, but
that's like my older trans women friend says that. Fucking shave at least.
Yeah, but like they don't do anything with their voice, and then they go get served somewhere that called a man, and then they run off to the press and they say, "I can't believe I was called a man," and then you listen to them, and it's a really deep, like voice, booming voice.
Well, there's
like, how are they going to know?
There's this little thing called personal responsibility. And there's this little thing called, there used to be this concept of like creating the life that you want rather than expecting it to be handed to you or the world to bend to you.
Right.
It used to be about finding your own path. And that was what I thought transitioning was. But apparently now it's walking out of the house, presenting completely as male and screaming at anyone who has the audacity to even think that you're male. And it's just so crazy. Like, I don't know how these people live and pay their bills and eat and breathe in this world when they expect it to all bend to them.
I don't know how they can look at themselves in the mirror.
I think they're the ones that they're actually experiencing privilege.
Yeah.
If they have all this time to sit at home and bitch and complain and throw it in everybody's face that we're the wrong ones. Like if you have the time to do that, that's a big privilege to me. And and it's because most of these people are teenagers. They're in high school. They don't have jobs. They sit at home. They go to school and they just bitch online.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the whole weekend when all these people were coming to our events and like screaming and throwing things and panicking. I'm like, do you guys have jobs or like classes to go to or like things on your agenda? Like I'm here because I was booked to do a show and like it's going to be like a productive thing. But you guys are here just fucking screaming nonsensical shit. And it's like, what are you doing with your lives? Like you could be doing anything to help yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
agree.
That's all it is just ineligible, like, well, not ineligible. Damn it. Sorry, I'm a little bit sleep deprived. So if I stop,
well, we know it's late there. It's like 12 there.
It's nearly like 11 o'clock. I had a crap night's sleep. I want to keep this going as much as possible because I haven't done a live stream in so long and I'm actually really enjoying this. Like all they seem to do really is just scream and cry. And when it comes to transitioning, I see it as a two-way thing. So the half of it is dealing with your own dysphoria, as in the way in which you see yourself. So
I know what you're going to say. And I spoke to my friend about this today. And I already know what you're going to say. I'm loving this. Go.
Yeah. So you look in the mirror. What do you see? Do you see the woman that you say you are? Like when I look in the mirror every day, I can say, yes, I do. And that, to me, is one of the best feelings in the world. Like, it just makes me feel, that I am a success because I've accomplished it. But the other half of it is it's not enough just for me to see it.
Have everybody else sees you.
Everybody else has to see it as well. So you have to put in that effort. You have to meet them almost at least halfway. If you want them to treat you in a particular word, like, if you want them to use female pronouns, if they want people to see you as a woman, society has an expectation on what a woman is, and it's not for you to redefine it. It's for you to meet it. It's almost like a social contract, as it were. Like it's and that for me is the fairest way of transitioning. You can't
call it assimilation. The same way we talk about how there's a certain expectation. Like if I move to France, I'm gonna like at least attempt to learn fucking French. Like if I move to Mexico, I'm going to attempt to learn Spanish. I'm going to attempt to adapt somewhat to their culture. I can still bring my culture with me. You can still have aspects of your little queer, like underground, cool kid culture, but to not assimilate at all into the wider society. If you're not going to do that, okay, but don't expect them to accept you with open arms then. And the thing is too, it's not even asking that much of them because like,
it should be what you want anyway. If you are trans,
it should be what you want anyway. That's the first thing. And the second thing is it actually doesn't take that much because there are a lot of people in the world. I would say most people, even if they don't look at you like as a woman, as in like maybe they can tell that you're trans.
they can also, if you're making the effort, they can see that that person means that means that you want to be
100%. 100%. I said that, and I said that at the end of my last video. I said I don't know if it's going to make sense to everybody that's listening, but in my head it made sense when I said it, and people really liked it. And I said, when people don't make any effort to transition, male to female, and I don't think most of those people are actually genuinely trans women, by the way. I think they're just entitled males. But the one of the biggest societal parts of being a woman is no longer being seen as a man. And that what I mean when I say that is you can pass for three different things. You can pass as a cis woman, or you can be trans but still pass. People will still think you're a cis woman. Yeah. You can be visibly trans, which is unfortunate for some people, but that happens. Or you could be a man, you can be seen as a man or a male or whatever. So as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't if you pass and you present as a man, do not come in the women's room. But if that doesn't mean that if somebody's visibly a trans woman, I don't think they should come in the women's room because I wouldn't care. I wouldn't feel unsafe because I don't think that trans women are the bad people. I think that crazy, creepy male people are the bad people. So that's where this Yeah.
It's such an important point. And people get so worked up when they talk about me sometimes. They say Blaire White hates any trans woman who doesn't pass and thinks that women have to always. It's no.
That's not what you're saying.
Yeah. It's when I'm saying make effort, it's not saying succeed fully.
What you're actually saying is lose your male privilege. I know you hate that saying, but that's technically what we're talking about. If you want to be seen as a woman, for it, if that's the word, that's the word that people will understand.
Yeah,
no, if you want to be a woman, stop allowing society to see you as a man.
Yeah,
right.
Even if you're not fully seen or seeing, even if you're not fully passing as a woman.
Yeah.
Putting in effort doesn't mean working until no one knows you're trans, because that simply is not attainable for a lot of people. Yeah, but there is again, everyone likes to think we live in this black and white world. There's nuance, there's gray areas. Even if you have the house and you don't pass as a cis woman, you probably just pass as a trans woman. And most people, there are some dicks out there who will see that and maybe will intentionally call you he because they want to be assholes. And those people suck. But most people, this happened to me the other day. I was literally in Target. One of the employees was very clearly a trans woman, wasn't really able to afford maybe she could afford, I don't know, but she had not yet gotten laser hair removal on her face, but she was completely shaved down, and but you could tell it was there, but just shaved down. And the wig wasn't all there. And, and that was that.
But she was trying. Right.
I would never look at that person as a man or refer to them as a man. I said, I don't even think I had to use pronouns in that interaction. But if I had to, I would have said she, and I would only refer to them as a girl because that's clearly what they want.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But it's different. It just hits different when it's a whole ass man with a beard and no effort at all, but wants to be in a women's bathroom. It hits different. Don't do that.
And it's interesting that whenever this point is brought up, they always seem to go oh, well, we can't always look stunning like you. And then first of all, I never ever say that I am stunning anyway, but more importantly, it like Blaire said, it isn't about looking perfect. It's just that bare line of just make an attempt. All people are asking for is making an attempt.
It's not even about beauty either, because passing is different than beauty.
Of course,
looking feminine is different than looking female.
Yeah. It's passing doesn't mean you're a supermodel. Passing, it's not the same thing at all. They can go hand in hand, but you could be both, which is that's fucking awesome. But it's not the same thing.
But that's the way that they always try and bring it up whenever they talk about passing. They always bring it up as though it's almost like an envy thing.
That's because they're not trans and they don't get it. They don't understand the difference between beauty and passing because they're not fucking trans.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. That makes sense.
So but what I'm referring to more is trans women who say that, when you get the really lazy ones who will at least say that they are trans women, but I see where you're coming from, and they probably aren't trans, but I don't know, maybe the ones that you might refer to as autogynephilias or whatever, those ones.
Yeah. Do you follow that guy, Blanchard? That guy.
Yes, I
don't
do.
follow him, but I know what
His thing,
that
his-
is, the
Yeah,
automatic
because of him.
and
Yeah.
that is so real.
I think it's definitely a thing. I see it on dating apps. I see that I see plenty of, and autogynephilia is literally only going to affect lesbians. Let's be real, or bi girls. It's only going to affect us. So we're the only ones that kind of know it, unless you're a trans woman that is in this space. But like, there are a plenty. I screenshot them and I save them in a folder on my computer. There are plenty of of these people that, like, as both of you I think would say, like, they're male, they're presenting as male, they haven't done any transition even socially, and they're calling themselves dykes and lesbians, and like
yeah, that I have a big problem with. Like, I'm not, just to clarify, because and to make sure people aren't misunderstanding me, I'm not saying that every single trans woman who is interested in women is automatically like AGP.
I'm not saying that either. Absolutely
no, I know you're not. I just wanted because
I've
when I've mentioned it in the past, I've had a few people say that's what I'm saying when
really?
that isn't.
Well, yeah,
that wasn't what you said.
That's the living in a black and white world, like assuming that means everyone. And to break it down for people who don't know, like autogynephilic men basically is men who, have a fetish
for dressing up to see themselves as women. Yeah.
AKA cross dressers, but are now that term is almost like completely defunct. Like
yes.
And these men, let's be real, these men will call themselves lesbians often because they are also attracted to women. And it's really disturbing because these people often are the exact kind of people that we've been talking about that make, trans women look so terrible and they look predatory. Jessica Yaniv, as an example for everyone, is a perfect example.
Yes, she calls her.
Yes.
He.
Yeah, just use he.
He calls himself a lesbian.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I went on his Twitter bio on his Twitter one time, and I was like,
"Oh, like he's." I think he's called himself bi on one or two occasions, but he will always go back to saying that he's a lesbian. Like he does it all the time. But that's always been his thing. Like he's clearly got an interest in young girls.
Yeah.
It's a fetish, and so I hope people can see that there's a difference between a gender identity and a fetish, because a fetish is sexual, and there is this misconception that being trans is a sexuality or has something to do with being aroused. Or it's literally just, it's how you navigate and you're seen through the world, as opposed to how you navigate someone's bedroom. Like it's such a different thing.
Yeah. No, I have a question. Somebody in the comments said something interesting. They said, AGP is a sexuality and it should be treated more like that than a fetish. The reason I would disagrity with that is, first of all, you mean sexual orientation, not sexuality. Sexuality is like the way we experience attraction, not who we're attracted to or what we want to do to somebody sexually or be done to us. Sexual orientation is immutable and whatever. What do you guys think about that statement? Do you think
I think it's absolutely a fetish in the sense
it's a fetish?
It's a fetish in the sense that it has to do with like they're turned on by themselves being seen a certain way. That's not that's not
a sexual orientation. No.
Yeah, an orientation to me is I like boys or girls or both. That's like what you're into. But if what you're into requires like you like dressing up and like playing in this alternate role and like that's a fetish. That's a kink.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's one that's destructive because it gets
it's destructive because they're using the wrong word to describe it.
They're not
calling themselves trans women when they're not.
They're not lesbians and they're not trans women.
Yeah, like I don't like it when fetishes try and get passed off as sexualities. Like I think that's a big what is wrong with just saying that it's a kink? Or are they?
I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Yeah, like are they looking for extra protections because you can't insult someone based on their sexuality, and if you just say, "Oh, it's a sexuality," it's a hate crime if you disagree with me on it. But I don't understand why they would want to have it passed as an actual sexuality. Ultimately, these people are still attracted to women, so surely that is their sexuality, that they are attracted to women, not that they want to get dressed up.
It goes back to like we've been talking about, everyone wanting to squeeze on into the L or the G or the B or the T. They don't want to be anything else, but they do at the same time. It's like make up your mind. You don't get to have the umbrella and the societal acceptance and protection of being an LGB or a T, while also engaging in stuff that's outside of that. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you said it really well. Spot on.
Yeah. Right. So let me read out some more super chats. Where did I get to the last time? So Julia, $10. Beyond refreshing to hear reasonable conversation. It's not dictated by SJW or ultra liberal talking points. Thank you. Rezi with their $5. There are people who medically transition in their 30s. I'm one. Yeah, I understand that there are. It's just more of a generalization of the kind of people that I've come across, where they're in very cuddly environments, but then it's only then that they somehow decide now is the time to transition rather than earlier. Tutors Witch with $5. It's ironic the woke trans types can claim anyone can be trans regardless of effort, yet in any other case, they consider it cultural appropriation. Like, yeah, it is. Like, can a trans person say that they are two-spirit or Hija or anything like that? It's like, no, they're not really allowed to.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
they wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
Unless they're Native American and trans.
Yeah.
Then they'd be like, okay.
Mars with $10. Cross-dressers will never truly understand transsexuals. For them, it's an identity and a fetish. For us, it's who we are, and we need not fight others over who we are. Absolutely agree.
Right.
And what's so sick is like, I know you're doing short chats, I'm so sorry, but what's so sick
That's
is like the trans community used to really, really reject the idea that we were similar to cross-dressers or to like, you know, fetishists or transvestites. Like we used to really try to distinguish beyond that. I was watching interviews with, oh my God, what's the name of the trans woman who was like the Bond girl and no one knew she was trans?
Oh, damn it. I can't remember her name. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like in the 80s. Like she was super iconic. Whatever. But she was like one of the first transsexuals to like have fame and be on TV doing interviews. And one thing she'd make sure to say in every video was, we are different than cross-dressers. We are different than transvestites. And that was the biggest thing for the community back then, because they knew that was the pathway to acceptance, us separating ourselves from fetishists and from performers. And now it's like, we're like welcoming all that with open arms. And it again,
under the umbrella. Yeah.
And it's negatively impacting the perception of us, but we're too stupid to see it. And by we, I mean like the people in the community who accept it.
Them,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I don't think it's the same thing at all. Yeah, I think that everybody is at this point. I think Buck Angel said it really well. The other day he said something like, he was on somebody's live stream and he said something about everybody's, you know, pining to be the wokest person of them all, but they're, you know, and they're all young kids, they're all teenagers, and they're hating on people like me. Even I'll put myself in this category because let's be real, I've been doing this for 10 years now.
Yeah,
you know, like me, and I'm not going to put on myself on Buck's level, but you know, I've earned some notoriety. They're hating on people that know what it's like to be LGBT for longer than they've even been out. You know, like, or even been talking about others, or even identifying as how they identify, and they're trying to. It's like queers trying to cancel. I hate the word queer, but like queers trying to cancel people that have been doing this, like activism for the community for years, and trying to tell us how to identify, what the new word, the new meaning of lesbian is, and the new meaning of trans is, and the new meaning of this. It's like, no,
it's disrespectful.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
These young quote activists really need to have some fucking respect for people who have been doing this for years, like Arielle, like Buck, like a lot of these people. And I'm not even in the same tier as people who have been doing this for a decade or longer. But they really need to have more respect. It really is messed up.
Yeah, but I think a lot of them are also motivated by hate. Like, look at
definitely.
Like they rarely will tell you the kind of things which they love, but like they will tell you who they hate. And it's so much of it is just a way of control, because they need to have control over everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And it's why a lot of this does ultimately, I know I mention this a lot, but it is something which comes a lot from the left. A need to control, a need to be able to tell people and put them all in little boxes. And when you step out of line, you know, you are fair game. They like to have that level of control. Like, they're not motivated by the love of the people, but the hatred of someone else.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
God, so true.
Oh no, definitely. That goes way back to King Henry VIII. Like, he was quoted for saying, well, I don't know if he was the original one that said it, but you as a leader, is it better to be feared or loved? Like that's still something that we're all struggling with at the moment. Like we all want to live by our own morals and promote what we believe to be, accurate and true. But
yeah,
you're gonna. I think people generally do talk more about what they hate, unfortunately.
No, they do. Like, I mean, whenever you go to any of these, like kind of queer events or these queer kind of say like Pride, for example, I'll look at a lot of the banners that they have. It's always fuck someone, fuck cops,
it's always
fuck TERFs, fuck TERFs, fuck cops, fuck capitalism, fuck the Tories.
It's made us into a political agenda when
everything is just about hating people. And Pride events. And the irony is they also paint a Pride event as being about love. It's all about love. Love comes together. But if you think the wrong way, if you have the wrong job or the wrong opinions,
the wrong type of tran.
Yes. The wrong type of tran, the wrong type of lesbian, the wrong type of gay.
Right.
Like, I've seen pictures of, like, I think it was one of the Labour, like a new Labour MP who a couple of years ago was at a Pride event, and the Labour were in front of the Conservatives, and there's just a picture of her, like, pulling faces and putting her fingers up at the Conservatives, like, like, what the fuck are they doing there? Like, it's supposed to be an event where everyone comes together. Surely you're celebrating the fact that you can be out, but no, you've still got to have your enemy. You still, every single time. There's always, and when they get rid of one enemy, they're just going to bring in another. It becomes a purity spiral. There's always someone that you can push, and then you can make them the next target, and everyone's going to become TERFs. The nasty, evil TERFs.
It's a cult.
It is.
The modern LGBT community has become a cult, and it's so sad because the community has historically and up until very recently been a place of refuge and of acceptance and of love for people who maybe were rejected or hadn't had that in their own families. That was the case for me when I came out, and that was the case for me as a teenager. And now I feel so sad for young kids that coming out who are finding themselves in this community that's indoctrinating them with like just the worst ideas. Like the people we were being protested by this weekend, they all were LGBT people, quote, who were literal communists, like literally holding up signs stating that they were communists and fuck capitalism and we need socialism. We need that. That's who these people are being indoctrinated to become, is literal communists. And I know that's making it like more of a like political discussion than social, but that is what is happening. It's like the politicization of the LGBT community and the expectation that if you're a part of it, you have a certain set of ideas, when the reality is like we are all our own people. And being a communist or a leftist should not be a prerequisite to being transgender or gay or lesbian or bisexual. And when it is, you're part of a cult, not an actual community of people based on your identity.
Right.
But I know I mentioned this is the kind of thing I'm talking about in my video tomorrow, but I might as well bring it in now because it is quite relevant. Like a lot of the time when they talk about, you'll find a more left-wing groups who are saying, like you can't be a Republican, you can't be a conservative because they're homophobic, they're against the gays. I don't know how much you two know about British politics, so some of this might not mean a lot, but the Conservatives in the UK will often be pointed out as like a homophobic party because of legislation they passed years ago, but they'll always ignore that it was the Conservatives under David Cameron that passed same-sex marriage in the UK. They will often talk about Boris Johnson as being a homophobe because of things he said decades ago, ignoring the fact that he was actually a part of Pride when he became mayor of London. But they will always bring it back to the achievements which they've had. You got your rights under Labour, you got them under the Democrats. And the second you start slipping more to the right, all of a sudden they forget that these rights were even a thing. And then they try and throw you under the bus and they'll say, you're a bootlicker, you're just sucking up to the fascists. And it gives the feeling like, why did they fight for the rights if they don't actually care about anything except for your vote, about the way in which you think? Like, do you see where I'm coming from with that? It feels like a whole way of control. Like, we will give you your rights. In exchange, you've got to support this economic model. You've got to hate these particular people.
Yes.
And if you disagree with that, well, what was the point of us even fighting for your rights in the first place? Like, an example of that, not like LGBT related, but recently the UK's Labour Party has been in a lot of trouble because of anti-Semitism. A group of Jews, known as the Board of Deputies, put out a request saying, Labour should sign up to these to fight anti-Semitism. A Labour group responded with loads of demands saying they have to condemn Israel, not aware, seemingly oblivious to the fact that they were being anti-Semitic and doing that. But interestingly, at the end, they said, well, you've also got to disavow the Conservative Party. And so it reads as though they're saying, like, we will only take your concerns of anti-Semitism seriously, provided you disavow our enemies and then you start following the line. Like, it's something which they do with so many groups. And it's something which I've noticed. And now I've seen it, I'm having a very hard time unseeing it.
No, it's very true. Like, it's about holding LGBT people hostage and advocating for them on the basis that they advocate for their ideologies and their policies and their economic models. It's like, what, I'm supposed to become a socialist because Elizabeth Warren put her fucking pronouns in her bio?
Yeah.
That bitch didn't even know what trans was 3 years ago. I guarantee you. Someone briefed her and said, being a leftist means loving trans people now. And she's like, okay, what does that mean? And I'm like, okay, put she, her in your pronoun, in your bio.
Right. Yeah.
You did it. And now I'm supposed to be like, oh my God, yes, I can't wait to vote for a socialist now.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That's it. Well, Trump's not putting his pronouns in the bio, is he? What a bigot.
Right. And you know what? It's not even to say that the Republican Party is even close to perfect on LGBT issues. Anyone who claims that that's the case, and I'm speaking about American politics at this point, is an idiot to claim that's the case. Historically, Republicans had a very hard time with the LGBT community. The tides are changing, in my opinion. Things are getting a lot better, and it's going to get better through the inclusion of LGBT right-wing activists getting more like leeway in right-wing entertainment and on Fox News and the Brandon Stracas of the world and myself to some extent and others. Things are getting a lot better. You can't even find two people to sit in a room and genuinely debate gay marriage anymore.
Right.
And I wish that the trans topic could get to that place. I wish it'd be hard to find, people who, but how can you expect, in particular, Republicans and conservatives living in the middle of the country who have never, to their knowledge, even met a trans person, can't wrap their head around this issue at all. It's so irrelevant to their lives, and they're expected to comment and have an opinion on trans issues and trans bathrooms and does Jessica Yanid get a period or not and all this shit. Of course they're going to react in a way that's like, no, I don't want any part of that, and no, all that's a freak show to me, because you're making it a freak show. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point. It's like yeah, sorry.
Somebody said that too. Somebody said that the crazy liberals are giving TERFs ammunition by acting this basically a true TERF, not me. A true TERF, would say that trans people are sick or they're crazy or they're trans women are just males and men and blah blah blah. And it's like they're aggressive, and then these trans activists will go out and actively, literally, like, wear T-shirts that say "fuck TERFs," "I kill TERFs," "I punch TERFs." Like, it's like you're giving them exactly what they want, what they need.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point.
It is, but it just allows them to continue to play victim. Really,
yeah,
absolutely. It's a supply and demand. It's like they so desperately want to be victimized that it's almost like they create the perfect storm for them to be, and it's so sad.
That's where the mental illness comes in too, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, a lot of them, like, I'm someone who's been dealing quite a bit with mental illness over the last couple of months. That's why my input, for videos and stuff has been kind of not quite what I've wanted. Like, I've not been making as many videos. That's why the next Pillars of the Community is probably not going to be out for another few weeks. But that's still something which I kind of like deal with, and I don't really rest on it like a crutch. Whereas when some of these people actually do talk about their mental illness, it'll only be in a way of like, well, I can't do anything because of my dysphoria. depression. Like, you've got to be able to deal with it as well.
Right.
When you're lashing out at people, when you're screaming in people's faces, when you're sending death threats, when you're saying things like fuck up TERFs and then getting upset when people don't like being called a TERF, like, you're not dealing with it very well. And so you got to take some responsibility. And to simply then throw the trans card and be like, well, I don't have to have any responsibility because I'm a tranner. Like, no, you're still a functioning human being in society. You're expected to act a certain way. Now grow up.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's sad because, like, I don't know about you guys, but like the real trans people that I've met throughout my life, like people who have been through transition and they're on the other side and they're successful, whatever, like those are the toughest people you'll ever meet because they've actually been through shit and they've really been through the struggle and they know what it is to persevere when the cards are against you. And that makes you such a strong person. There's so many gay people like that as well. Like, that makes you such a strong person. And it's so the complete polar opposites and all these like queer crybabies who show up and have panic attacks at like events or whatever. Like it's the exact opposite type of person.
Right. I know. So, I need lighting. I don't have lighting out here. I'll go inside. I'm done. I'm done outside. I'm enjoying Florida's nice weather while it lasts. It's going to get chilly soon.
So I'll just read out some more super chats. I'm trying to remember where I left off. So first of all, I really apologize if I miss anyone off. So let's see. No. Any comments on classism in the non-binary movement? Why are those not in transition more marginalized? Transition is extremely expensive. Well, what's interesting with the non-binary movement is a lot of the people I know who say that they are non-binary are middle to upper class. Like they all come from very comfortable backgrounds. And the ones who say they are working class, they're not actually working class. Like they don't hold like British class value, like working class values. They're not their families don't come from a working class background. A lot of them are university educated. Like there's a lot of them who are generally quite privileged, but because they get to say that they are non-binary, that avoids all the nasty privilege which they've accrued. So like, no, I do think that in a way you could say that there's classism, but the whole queer movement often avoids classism because they know that they would just be targeting themselves. Does that make sense? No,
that makes sense. 100%. Yeah.
The offensive tranny with DKK50. I've never experienced someone intentionally calling me she. It has only happened by mistake, which I understand. Most people are actually cool. Oh yeah, no, I can't remember the last time I was misgendered. But yeah, it's only ever I actually can't remember when the last time it was at all. Tutor's Witch, $2. Have you seen the South Park Trans Athletes episode? Yes, I have. Yeah. I think it's brilliant.
I think it's funny.
Like it's one of the best episodes that they've done on trans stuff, I would say. Sarah Ginter, $10. I'm freaking the fuck out. I haven't watched Arielle since the 9th grade when she did videos with her best friend. And now my fave to favor Rose and Blaire are having a live chat. I love you ladies. Oh, thanks.
Aww.
We love you too. Hey, Miles Kinslow. Hey guys, great conversation. Really appreciate your work. Thoughts on drag kids like Desmond is amazing. I think a lot of it is messed up because they are clearly being pushed by activist parents.
You want to hear a really funny story?
Yes.
Apparently that person is in my neighborhood.
What? Desmond is amazing.
Yeah. And we have the same lawyer. How random is that?
Why does he have a lawyer?
Because he's a showman, an entertainment lawyer, like an entertainment lawyer.
Ah, right. Okay.
My lawyer was just for me buying my condo, but same lawyer. He does a lot of different types of law. That's just I just thought that was funny.
It's weird. Like I find a lot of it quite disturbing because a lot of it is quite sexualized. Like
that's the part I disagree with. Yeah.
Like I like watching drag shows. Like I think that drag can be great, but there is a lot of it that is sexualized. Like you can't it's hard to deny that. And so I don't think it's a particularly kid-friendly environment to get kids into.
Drag is adult entertainment, in my opinion. Like anytime you take something that is exclusively in like adult nightclubs and takes place past midnight and you try to put it in a daycare or a preschool or a kid's library, like something doesn't connect there. I'll even go as far as to say, like, a lot of the times parents who like love watching Drag Race with their kids, I think, like, what are you thinking? Because even RuPaul's Drag Race, every other joke is about like sucking dick or tucking and putting your balls inside your body. And I'm like, it's like, it's like, what are you? And I never even really watched the show. And I had always assumed it probably was family friendly because so many parents did watch it with their kids and went to DragCon with their kids. But then I started watching it because Joey used to literally work on the show, long story short. And I started watching it because he would watch it. And I was like, who the hell would watch this with their kids? They're like motioning, sucking dick and talking about anal and like, what? This is a kid's show. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, that's not. I draw the line. Like, if it was just a kid that, you know, if it was just a young boy that dressed up, quote, in women's clothes or wanted to dress up and was not sexualized in any way and wanted to go on stage and sing Aretha Franklin, to me, there's nothing wrong with that, because that's the same as going to your child's play and them dressing up as Elsa from Frozen, you know?
There's
it's different when you're performing for an adult audience and sexualizing yourself, or you know, taking your clothes off or whatever.
It's seedy.
Weird.
It's really, really seedy. Like, like you said, it's one thing if a boy wants to dress up, like, you know, in a nice dress and do some singing. That's one thing, but that's not what drag is.
That's not what drag is. No,
and
it's
like, now they're only getting these ideas because it's being pushed on them. Like, the amount of like kid drag queens that you're seeing, and then it just so happens to be that all the parents are, you know, these uber progressive American liberals. Like,
and let's keep it real. Let's just keep it real. Basic straight white women fucking love drag queens because they think it's so radical and they think it's so like woke and they think it's so cool, when in reality, if you go to any of these gay clubs, or if you know drag queens, like, I know a lot of drag queens in the community here in Hollywood, like, a lot of drag queens are like, I'll just be super honest, like, a lot of them are drug addicts. A lot of them are like just like club kids and like people that I personally would not want teaching my children. Like,
oh, that's just gay culture.
That's just gay
men culture is it unfortunately there is. My friend Davey did a video years ago about how whenever he's completely not sober, but like he's never done drugs, never been drunk, and neither have I. And it's in a strange way, it's a weird space for a gay person to exist without doing drugs or being drunk, because all of our events that we have involving Pride, like, usually have that, you know, like, they'll be sponsored by, you know, alcohol companies, which is great because they've sponsored my content. But there's always, like, when people think we're the weird ones for not wanting to be involved with drugs or anything like that. Like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, our all of our Pride events and all of our community events are backed or backed by alcohol, or you know, our gay clubs or gay bars, and there's drinking and drugs, unfortunately. And that's just kind of how, I guess that's kind of where it came from, because that's, gay bars were like undercover for a while, you know, and they've, you know, the drugs, I'm not sure why it's so crazy in the gay community, but I have friends that are now sober. And I can tell you, like, how bad gay men can, not every gay man, obviously, of course, but I can tell you how bad gay men can be with that kind of stuff.
And it's amplified in the drag queen world. Like, a lot of drag queens, a lot of them are freaking cokeheads. A lot of them are people that go to these clubs and they get messed up and they go on stage and it's fun. Listen, that's adult entertainment and it's great. Right. I've gone to drag shows and I've enjoyed myself and it's great. And people love going like on their like bachelorette parties and it's fun and it's whatever. But like, it's just, it doesn't translate when it comes to kids. And this goes back to what I often say in my videos about how so many LGBT activists, it's like, they're speaking a foreign language to the rest of the country, to middle of America, to Republicans, to anyone who's not in their super woke progressive spaces. Like, it's like, it doesn't translate to the rest of the world. Like, what it looks like to the rest of the world is freaking, and I don't agree that it's this explicitly, but it looks like pedophilia. It looks like indoctrination of kids into a really seedy, gross lifestyle. It looks like a freak show. And I'm not saying that's what it is or always is or whatever, because honestly, I'm sure some drag queens story times are very innocent. Like, honestly.
Right. Of course.
But you have to be aware of optics and like how it looks to the rest of the world. There's something to be said about that, you know? Like it's just it doesn't work. It's like so many activists are dead set on being exactly what like traditionalist conservatives fear that they are.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Like it is effectively giving out the stereotype when you had in the 1970s with NAMBLA trying to get in on the gay rights movement, and you still even now you have a lot of like pedophiles who want in on the LGBT. Like they will always sneakily add that P onto the end. And then when you have things like the kids doing the drag shows and then they're having photos with naked drag queens, like it's very hard to get when you see the pedophiles saying, we're a part of it as well. And then straight away you see that kind of image being shared by gay media, being shared by, all these Twitter things saying, look how brilliant this is. It's like, I know that there isn't that. I don't think that the guy in this photo is being a predator, but God damn it, you're really not aware of how this looks.
Right. It's optics. And it's like, any political movement or any societal movement like has to think about optics.
Yeah, and not enough to, especially on the left, especially when
no, they don't. I think they're aware. I think they just don't care.
Yeah,
they create their own little spaces to where all of the bullshit they talk about and they do makes perfect sense to them, and it's a foreign language to the rest of the world. And even I am trans and I can't keep up with half the shit that is now like the current status quo in the community, so I can only imagine what like these regular ass people sitting in the middle of the country or wherever think of it, or even just regular straight people. Like it's like it doesn't translate.
No. So many people have much more important things going on in their lives than caring about pronouns. So you can't demand that people are going to start bending the knee, and that your issue is now the issue of the now.
Most people cannot define the word pronoun. No. Most people don't know what a pronoun is, but yet they're expected to bend at the knee about it.
Well, it was apparently like the word of the year for 2019 was like pronouns and they, and it was either the word of the year or the word of the decade. It was one of those two was legitimately pronouns. Like Jesus fucking Christ. And like these are the same people who talk about how oppressed they are when like words that are only used by such a small percentage of the like a fraction of a community, and yet they have they have such a reach where they can get big institutions to acknowledge them.
Yeah,
like it's absolutely insane. I know it's starting to get a bit late, so I'm going to read out the last few super chats. So Daniel B. Jr. says, Arielle, what was the deal with people going after Sam Collins?
Sam and I are friends, but from my understanding, we don't agree with everything that we like. I don't agree with everything he says. He doesn't agree with everything I say. And people were coming for him saying that he's canceled because he's friends with me.
That's fucking ridiculous.
That's as simple as that. And I feel bad for him. Yeah, I feel bad for him because he's very young. And I think he's a great guy. Like I have no problem with Sam. I have a problem with his audience that isn't letting him live his life, and be friends with who he wants to be friends with.
Yeah.
Like I don't agree with my mom on everything, and she's still my mom and I love her. Like you can like the truth of the matter is, and what a lot of these leftists don't want to believe is that we are all fighting, at least the people in this room, in the chat, and a lot of the people that follow us are all fighting for the same thing. We just believe in different ways of doing so.
Yes.
And that's what the bigger picture should be. Not I'm right and you're wrong. It's like, are we all fighting for the same thing? Then that's, you know what I mean? Like we're all fighting for more LGBT inclusivity, LGBT rights, LGBT acceptance, blah, blah, blah. The three of us here probably believe that it's more important to ease into the topics, right? With, more, rural America and that kind of thing. But these people are like on their end, they're like, who the fuck are these people to not, accept us, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to shout at them and scream quite literally in some cases, like the video we saw today.
Yeah.
Fuck. But like, they believe that that's helpful. We believe it's not helpful. Like it's a very weird, strange divide. And I feel like the general public also is on our side. It just so happens that these insane, very left-leaning people are the loud minority, I think.
Yeah.
That's my consensus. Yeah.
And it's weird. I've seen people come after like YouTubers that I'm friends with, like Rachel Oates. Like we had we met up a couple of weeks ago and we just had, met up for like some drinks. We got on really well. And she posted something and it was on a YouTube. I was like, oh, I met up with Rose at Dawn. And it's like, that's really nice. But then people started leaving her essays about how problematic I am.
Oh my God.
Rose had an interview with Sargon of Akkad, so that makes her a fascist. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, guys.
Yeah. Well, that's what's happening. They're friends of mine and they don't want to be. I understand that they don't want to be associated with certain things that I've said because they shouldn't be, because they didn't say them. But they shouldn't be like, they should not be called out for being friends with somebody that they disagree with slightly.
Yeah.
Or even completely,
Yeah. Like
most of these people are basement dwellers who have no concept of real friendship, no concept of navigating in a world in which people disagree with them. They really don't. Their only interactions come from online and their little group chats and their little Reddit forums where every single person thinks exactly like them. They don't understand what it is to have a friend who you maybe don't agree with fully. Like, but the gag is the reality is that no person you ever meet in real life outside of your little annoying group chats is ever going to agree with you fully.
Right.
Ever.
Exactly.
Even my fiance doesn't agree with me on everything, and that's the person I'm closest with in the world. But if you shut yourself off from people who disagree with you or are even completely opposite to you, you're missing out on learning, expanding, strengthening your own beliefs and your own arguments, because it's when you understand the opposition that you really understand your stance. I don't even watch, I rarely watch conservative media, Republican media, and commentators. Ever. I mostly watch liberal ones because how am I to understand my own positions if I don't understand the opposition to my position?
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Absolutely. But I see, like, in the past couple of years, especially the likes of Trump and Brexit, people are getting much more comfortable in their own echo chambers. Like, before the election over here, the amount of Facebook posts basically saying, if you're planning on voting for the Conservatives or Brexit Party, please remove me from my friends list. I'm disowning all friends and family who vote for Tory scum. And like, so I barely talk about politics on my Facebook. Like, it's purely just personal stuff. And the day after the election, I posted something just about, it was a little bit political, just saying, stop calling everyone who disagrees with you rats and stop, disowning people for voting in a different way and learn from them. And in response, as someone who I thought was a good friend, say that I was supporting ethnic cleansing because I voted Conservative.
It's disgusting.
Like, and it's just, and he was perfectly fine with that. He's like, you're supporting, if you vote for Tory, you're supporting ethnic cleansing. I've
never heard of that. I mean, I know what it means because it's...
But like what he's referring to is literally not ethnic cleansing in any way, shape, or form. But it's just absolutely ridiculous.
I'm sorry, but that's mental illness. To go from 0 to 100 that quick is mental illness. That's like a level of paranoia and just delusion that like is just so beyond.
Like it kind of made me feel sad in a way because we had been quite good friends. I mean, I knew that he was a full-on Marxist, but I thought we could, I disagree with you politically. We don't talk about politics, but he couldn't move on from that. And I had to basically vote Labour or fuck off. And I was like, well, if that's what you think of our friendship, then I don't want anything to do with you either. It's simply not worth it to me. It's sad that this is a thing which we have to put up with. It was like 10 years ago. We could just, everyone could vote whatever way they wanted. It didn't make them bad people. But now, if you vote the wrong way, so to speak, like everything which you've had before doesn't matter. Yeah, it's all about being. You're a bad person for supporting this. And it's something which doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. Like, even with now the UK's had Brexit done, I was hoping people would move on from that. They're not. Like, I had someone on Facebook saying, like, for Brexit supporters, please don't gloat on Facebook about winning. Like, we're all feeling really upset, so mind our feelings. And then 10 minutes later, he talked about how everyone who's celebrating the UK leaving is like a knuckle scraping idiot. That's like, it's like, you're not even seeing your own hypocrisy here.
No, they don't.
It's the same
or if
thing
they do, they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, it happens here with Trump too, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse going into the election, and then the 4 years after it. It's just a disaster.
Yeah, it's gonna, like, honestly, they didn't see the meltdown. They didn't see it coming when Boris won back in November. They really are not going to see it with Trump. Like, in a way, like, I'm watching the American election that evening. I cannot wait for the salt. I really cannot wait for the salt. It's like, they deserve it. They really, really deserve it because of the way they've acted over the last 4 years. They've never before, as a political party, deserved to lose so much.
Absolutely. I'm going to be hiding out in my apartment on election day. I'm not going to any parties here in LA for the election. I'm staying in my apartment, maybe strapped with something. Like, I'm just a little fearful for that night. But after that night, I think hopefully we can get it together.
It's
right. So I got a couple more super chats to read out. So Luke with 199. Woke groups keep proving TERFs right, ironically. Leela Hixiel, $20. How do you cope with the hate from the radical woke left with an alternative opinion to their narrative? I get told I'm violent by speaking alt view on this. I spoke to a lesbian on our anti-rolling view. It didn't work. Well, like, the thing is, a lot of these people are fueled by hate. A lot of them are fueled entirely by anger and aggression. It's a lot easier when you're dealing with people that you don't know. Like, I don't really mind any of the hate that I've got from people online because a lot of them I don't know. So it's water off a duck's back. But the people that I do know in real life, that's a little bit more difficult to deal with. I'll just try and get through them all quickly. Zero Fox of $5. Transitioning is expensive. It's almost if you have to work for something you need. That's a serious decision. Nah, it's free to bitch about pronouns. Beyond Trans with Mardy, 13 Canadian dollars. Keep up the great work and calling out the crazy. It's important work, but keep up with your self-care. Love Auntie M from the colonies. Luke Hinida, $2. Rose and Blaire, I sent you and Buck an email. Please read. Yeah, I'll check that out after. Leela Hixiel again with a $5. Thank you, all three of you, for being sane voices in an insane time. You are valued. Your voices are important. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you for tuning in. It's people like you that make doing all this kind of thing really worth it. Sarah Ginter with $10. The LGBTQ community. The LGBTQ community gets upset with me because I am a bisexual woman who is pro-life and supports Trump and low income, so I get hate for it all the time. The thing is, I'm a very loving person, and I'm sure you are. They just seem to associate having the wrong view with being a bad person, and that is entirely their flaw and not yours. And Ashley Cartwright with £5. Rose, did you bring up about trans people stealing intersex? It's Ashley Olivia from Twitter. I did see your tweet. I've not really had the time to address it. I've been very busy in work today, and I've been dealing with some absolute zero energy stuff. So I do apologize that I've not really been able to get around to it. I'm sorry. So I think this will probably be a good time to put a wrap on things because I am a zombie at this point, and I don't think I'm making any more sense.
You should get some rest.
Yeah, I've fucking gone. So as I mentioned throughout this video, there's another video coming out tomorrow. It's not trans stupid, it's a different thing. I am still working on the next pillars of the community, which is on Monroe Bergdorf. I know I've been working on that for a long time. I've had a lot of shit going on. Hoping to get that out fairly soon because I'm currently writing the script. I've done all the research for it. I am going to be on the Academic Agents channel tomorrow evening for another episode of Unpopular Opinions because I haven't been on there for a while. And on Wednesday, I believe I'm doing a stream with That's What I Call a Talk Show. I think that's what their name is. I apologize if I got that wrong, which I think might be on their YouTube channel. I'm going to tweet about that anyway, so you guys can catch it. So is there, before we bring everything to close, is there anything you guys want to plug?
I would just say just my YouTube channel, just search up Blaire White. And other than that, I hope that you guys, just continue to tune into Arielle, myself, and Rose, and just know that, we're all fighting this together, and it is stressful being the ones putting out the videos, but it means nothing if you guys don't watch. So thank you guys so much for just really all the support over the years and in the future.
Absolutely.
Well said.
So Arielle, do you have anything coming out?
I am actually working on a video of me, quite literally, probably coming out, and I think it's going to be coming out as a non-liberal because I can no longer with these people anymore. These people do nothing for me. They do nothing but hate on me. So
awesome.
I'm very curious how that video is going to perform. I have no idea. I think I think the people on the left hate me already, so I don't think it's going to get more hate than it usually does.
That's it. If anything, you'll just get people from the right appreciating
That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah,
and it's not something I'm doing for views. I think it's
absolutely
my morals. Yeah. So we'll see.
Everyone appreciates a good red pill. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I just started to write it, so it's going to be like my peak trans. It's going to be called peak trans type of video, but it's not actually peak trans. It's peak trans or queer activism is really So
that doesn't sound really cool. So with all of that, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for the super chats. It's very, very much appreciated because I'm saving up for my holiday to Japan. And so I need all the monies I can get. But also in that case, I'll be doing another stream hopefully soon. Hopefully Arielle and Blaire will be back. And I'll see you all guys next time. Bye.
Bye guys. Bye.
End broadcast.